What does your inner voice sound like when you're struggling? Is it calm, kind, supportive, or is it the opposite, constantly telling you you're lazy, useless, or hopeless? When your mental health drops, that voice gets louder, and instead of helping you move forwards, it just makes things worse. It becomes a cycle where because you didn't get much done, you feel guilty, and because you feel guilty, it's even harder to start. And one thing that helped me break that cycle is something called the companion rule. If someone you deeply care about was feeling exactly how you do right now, mentally drained, anxious, or overwhelmed, what would you say to them? Would you expect them to push through it, or would you give them support, space, and compassion? Because if you'd let someone else off more gently, why would you not be the same with yourself? During med school and now as a doctor living in London, I've had my share of long hours, high stress, and burnout. But this is one of the mindset shifts that I kept coming back to, because it's part of the truth that no productivity system works if it's built on self-punishment. You don't need to give up, but you do need to stop beating yourself up. So in this video, I'm going to share 4 more practical strategies that helped me work even when my mental health was low. They've all helped me stay consistent with working full-time, running this YouTube channel, and still maintaining a balanced life. And they'll help you do the same. So first, once you've shifted that harsh inner voice with the companion rule and you're no longer trying to punish your way through low mood, the next step is to change what you aim for. Because when your brain feels overstimulated, anxious, or completely drained, trying to force deep focus usually just makes things worse. Your internal state isn't ready for work. It doesn't want to create any output because what it really needs is a reset. And this is where something called regulation tasks come in. And there's 2 sides to this. The first is about doing small, low pressure tasks that focus less on generating an output and more on stabilizing your mental state. And it's as simple as things like tidying your desk, planning the week, journaling a quick thought, or even reorganizing your digital workspace. To other people, it might look like procrastination, but if you're mentally struggling, these are anchors. They help restore just enough clarity and control so that you can ease yourself back into real work. And the second side to this is about redefining success. Because when you're at a low place, which feels like a survival mode, trying to match your best days is unhelpful and even harmful. But you have to remind yourself that your current state isn't your best. So it doesn't make sense to compete with that. You should just focus on supporting your current struggling self. So the new definition of success at these moments should be as simple as asking yourself, did I show up at all today? If you showed up even just for 5 minutes, that's a win. This is about proving to yourself that you still care and can take at least a small step forwards, because this alone is more than enough to help you rebuild momentum. So let's say you've now shown up and took this small step forwards. This alone is a win in these situations. But when your mental health is low, the next part can feel just as hard, which is where you try to keep going without ending up having burnout. This part matters because without it, it's hard to build on that momentum from the previous point. You might find yourself taking one step, but if there's nothing to catch you, you fall back again. And the biggest mistake here is putting more pressure on yourself, thinking you need to catch up by doing more. But instead of falling into that all or nothing trap, what you actually need is a system that's flexible enough to move with you, not against you. And this system has a few key steps that all work together so that you stay consistent without needing perfect energy or motivation. The first step is to stop viewing the day as a single block. What you need to do is maintain your emotional energy by having separate regular checkpoints. At each checkpoint, usually in the morning, midday, and evening, ask yourself, do I have energy right now? If the answer is yes, choose one meaningful task, and if the answer is no, choose one calming task. The calming tasks aren't distractions, they're resets, and this could be going for a slow walk, doing some light admin, or meditating. They're there to regulate your mental state so that you can return to more difficult work later. Once you've chosen your task, the next step is to make success impossible to miss. Remember, you don't need an all or nothing approach. You don't need to finish a full essay or complete a 2-hour study block. Sometimes the win is just opening your laptop or making a coffee and sitting at your desk. These are micro wins. Small achievable actions that quietly build momentum. And to make them visible, you need to start a completed list. Normally, we focus on to-do lists, but that can be overwhelming because you put emphasis on everything you still got left to do, which would only bring your mental state down. A completed list is the opposite, where you record everything you've completed because it works as proof that you actually did show up. instead of thinking that you're just falling behind. This is there to rewire shame into self-trust through tiny, repeatable wins. This is going to respect your limits without quitting completely because you work with your energy and not against it. And all of this is key to staying consistent when your mind is initially working against you on your lowest days. But a problem is, even with the right structure and small wins in place, the one thing that can quietly sabotage your ability to focus is the environment inside your own mind. Because when your mental health is low, as well as having a lack of motivation, you also have harsh and intrusive thoughts that become louder. Whether that's overthinking or self-criticism, sitting down in silence trying to concentrate is difficult when you have this voice. And that's why silence isn't always focus. So what helps is using sensory anchors. This might sound weird, but it's about having low intensity background inputs that buffer your thoughts without bringing attention to them. Things like brown noise or rain or lo-fi music, which I go towards, have something repetitive and familiar. These sensory anchors create just enough distance between you and the noise in your head so your brain can gently ease back into focus. It's a subtle shift, but when your internal environment is loud and hostile, even small buffers like this can make a huge difference. Now for a quick update, I'm working on building an online course and community and would highly appreciate your feedback and input. So check out the links in the description. It would help me out a lot if you would provide some feedback in terms of what you find helpful from my videos and what you feel would help even more as part of a course or community. Thank you in advance, and now back to the video. And once you've created a more forgiving space, the final thing that really makes a long-term difference is preparing for the days when none of this feels easy. Because let's be honest, this won't be a one-time problem. Your mental health will fluctuate. Some days you'll have energy, other days you'll feel completely flat. So one of the smartest things you can do is build what I call a default mode. It's a simple preset routine you fall back on when you're too drained to plan or make decisions. The idea is to reduce as much friction as possible, so even if you're struggling, you can keep yourself afloat without crashing. That might mean heading to the same cafe, using the same playlist, or starting a 10-minute timer. Ideally, keep the same starting task too, something light and familiar, so your brain knows exactly what to do without thinking. For me, it's usually co-working with friends or going for a short walk to reset. These small repeatable defaults become a kind of scaffolding. They're not perfect, but they're good enough to stop everything from falling apart. And on your worst days, that's all you need, just something preloaded that still nudges you forwards. So if your mental health is low, everything I've shared in this video can help you build a system that still works, even when you don't feel like you do. But even with the best system, there's one thing that can quietly sabotage your focus, and that's your phone. A few years ago, I realized that most of my stress, distraction, and mental fatigue came from screen time I wasn't even noticing. So I started testing ways to cut it down, not just by forcing it, but by designing it into my routine. And now I use my phone for less than 30 minutes a day without feeling restricted. And that one change gave me all the focus I needed to get on with everything in my life. And in this video here, I talk about this exact strategy to reduce my screen time. So if you want to take back control of your time, your focus, and your mental clarity, then click the video to learn more.